Steve's journey into the unknown had already taken a dark turn, but as the jungle loomed closer, the whispers grew louder. Shadows danced on the horizon, flickering in patterns he couldn't understand. He clutched the map in one hand and his diamond sword in the other. His grip was firm, but his heart was restless. He wasn't sure if he was ready for what lay ahead. The jungle was alive. Vines twisted like snakes, leaves rustled with no wind, and every step felt like a step into the jaws of some unseen predator. The map led him deeper, past ancient ruins covered in moss and cracked by time. Each stone seemed to hum faintly, as if resonating with the energy of the totem in his inventory. The altar was near, but the path was not clear. The jungle tested him. Traps, concealed beneath the thick undergrowth, snapped at his boots. A swarm of silverfish poured from a hidden crevice, their tiny, glinting eyes reflecting the faint light of his torch. He fought them off, his swings precise but desperate. When the swarm was defeated, he knelt to catch his breath. That's when he noticed it, a faint carving on the ground, barely visible under the dirt. He wiped it clean with trembling hands. The symbol matched the totem, a circle, broken at its edges, with an eye at its center. He felt it pulse in his inventory, as if recognizing the mark. The temple finally revealed itself at twilight, a massive structure of blackened stone and warped wood. It stood like a sentinel against the setting sun. Its spires pierced the sky, and its entrance was flanked by statues, figures shrouded in cloaks, holding what looked like totems of their own. Their faces were blank, but their presence was anything but lifeless. Steve hesitated. The air felt heavier here, charged with something unnatural. He placed his torch in the ground, drawing a line of light behind him as he stepped forward. His footsteps echoed as he entered the darkened corridor. Inside, the walls were lined with bookshelves, the texts written in a language he couldn't comprehend. The pages shimmered faintly, as if alive. He reached out to touch one, but the whispers grew louder, warning him to stop. He obeyed, his hand retreating. At the heart of the temple was the altar. It was grander than he expected, built of obsidian and adorned with glowing purple veins. It radiated a quiet menace. Floating above it was another totem, larger, darker, and pulsing in time with the one he carried. He placed the map on the floor and stepped closer. The whispers erupted into a chorus, voices overlapping, speaking of power, of purpose, of destiny. He couldn't shut them out. He dropped to his knees, gripping his head, until one voice broke through the chaos. It was his own. "You already know why you're here." He froze. The totem in his hand burned like fire, yet he couldn't drop it. It felt as if it had fused with his very being. Slowly, he rose to his feet, his eyes fixed on the larger totem. It felt alive, watching, waiting. As he placed the smaller totem on the altar, the room trembled, the walls shifted, revealing engravings that had been hidden in shadow. They told a story, a warning, perhaps, a civilization that had once wielded the power of the totems, only to be consumed by it. Their towers had risen as monuments to their ambition, but they had fallen into ruin, forgotten by time. The larger totem began to spin, its glow intensifying. The room darkened until only its light remained. Shapes emerged from the shadows, figures draped in flowing cloaks, their faces obscured. They surrounded Steve, silent but oppressive. Then, a voice, deep, resonant, and commanding. It wasn't a whisper, it wasn't his own. "You have come far, little one, but do you truly understand?" The shadows parted, revealing a figure seated on a throne of obsidian and gold. It was the same figure from his dreams, tall, imposing, with a crown of glowing shards. It held the totem, larger than life, and its eyes pierced through the darkness. "This power is not a curse," it said, "it is a gift." Steve gritted his teeth, clutching his sword tighter. "It's destroying me," he said, his voice shaking but firm. "It's destroying everything." The figure chuckled, low and menacing. "Destruction is merely transformation. You fear what you do not understand." "I didn't ask for this," Steve shot back. "You were chosen," the figure replied, rising from its throne. Its movements were fluid, almost serpentine. "And now, you must choose." The room shifted again, the altar transforming into a portal, a swirling vortex of black and purple. The totem hovered at its center, pulsating like a heartbeat. The voice echoed around him, each word reverberating in his chest. Step through and claim your destiny, or leave and let the world forget you ever existed. Steve's mind raced. He thought of his home, his farm, the quiet life he once knew, but that life felt distant now, almost unreal. The power of the totem had changed him, but it had also awakened something within him, something he didn't yet understand. He took a step forward, then another. The portal pulsed, drawing him closer, but before he could step through, he turned back to the altar. He reached into his inventory and pulled out the map. With a deep breath, he placed it on the glowing surface, its edges catching fire instantly. The flames roared, consuming the totem and the portal in one violent burst of light. When the light faded, the temple was silent. The totems were gone. The figure on the throne had vanished. Steve stood alone. The weight in his inventory finally lifted. He turned and walked out of the temple. The jungle strangely quiet as dawn broke on the horizon. But as he reached the edge of the trees, he paused. On the ground before him lay a single shard of obsidian, faintly glowing purple. He picked it up, his reflection staring back at him. His eyes were darker now, almost black. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, the whispers began again.